Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Productivity Mastery 101, episode 101, the podcast that is bringing you some of the most inspiring and successful people on the planet. And they're sharing their insights, their strategies, the lessons that they learned from their experience. And I couldn't be more happy to welcome our guest today. This gentleman that's standing in front of me today, he is a rock star. He has generated over 135 million euro in revenue. He scaled three businesses from 0 to 8 figures and actually supported tens of businesses to grow to 7 to 8 figures himself. He's built two performance agencies. He is just a great guy who loves to share. And if you have anything to do with e-commerce, if you want to grow your business virtually online, that's the guy you want to talk to. Jure, great to have you, brother. How are you this
Yo,
morning?
such a great intro. Yeah, super excited about today's talk.
So tell us about your story, man. What brought you to start, being an entrepreneur and
Yeah.
supporting businesses to grow with e-commerce?
hmm Okay. So basically, I think it actually started like in high school, because I started listening to this like YouTube videos regarding like different founders, entrepreneurs starting their own businesses. Back then, I was really into sports, so I wanted to become like a professional sportsman. I realized that this is not going to happen. So okay, what's next? Then actually during the university, so I actually attended the University of Economics here in Ljubljana. I started like trying to just be curious about in which direction actually to go to. So I really had this passion for entrepreneurship. Didn't have any idea what I wanted to do, but basically one of the courses was marketing. And basically, I got also inspired this by my sister because she was really into marketing. I was like, okay, let's learn marketing then.
Just a
And
little note, guys. Maya Voye, she's already been on the podcast. His sister is also a rock star marketer, growth marketer. So make sure to check
yeah,
out this episode as well. Jure, go ahead.
yeah, no worries. Amazing. Yeah, check out Maya as well. Yeah. So basically, I started diving deep into the marketing space, and I said, okay, this is really interesting for me. It was the most interesting part was this online marketing because you could actually target people and you could actually understand the data. This was like back then. Right now, we all have problems getting the data because of the iOS changes, the privacy changes. But for me, it was like I wanted to learn how to actually sell things online. So I actually applied for an internship in a marketing agency, and I actually got the first few days was like, okay, you're going to pick up the phone, you're going to collect some papers and reorder them. And one day, actually, one of the team members went into vacation, and I need to jump in on the marketing. So it was Facebook marketing. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to do this. And she said, yeah, it's no worries. I'll write you how it's done, like the process. And I had like this 1 hour onboarding and I tried it. And the next day when I actually came to the office, the boss was like, Jure, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Did I spend too much money? And he was like, it's selling. So for me, it was like, okay, this is really good. So I could actually sell things from the office throughout Slovenia. So basically, when my mind opened was when we started selling internationally. So after actually 8 months of being in that company, I said, okay, I want to start my own company. I started my own agency, and basically it was to specialize helping the local businesses to sell in other markets, in other European markets. So it was this localization, and for me it was a really good fit because it was the combination between like the entrepreneurship and the marketing. So I think this is how it actually got started, sparked a lot of desire and passion inside me to actually follow this journey on the entrepreneurship and marketing. And then, it was ups and downs. And I know we're going to cover this all today, but basically, I'm curious about in which direction you want to go next.
No, absolutely. Well, not so many people can can mention and share that they scaled the business from 0 to 8 figures, and you've done that multiple times. And I'm just curious, what did it really take? Like, how long did it take for you to do that? And maybe could you lead us on the journey?
Yeah.
What really made a difference in terms
Yeah.
of these, the most important steps and milestones that you reached?
Yeah. So from my side, it was basically when I started, it was like, okay, I want to help like as many businesses as possible. And it was basically actually to get like the technical knowledge and basically the confidence to perform. And when I got like 20, 30 success stories behind me, also some failures in the way, as it always is on this kind of journeys, I basically say, okay, what's the next step for me? Because for me, it's like I'm super competitive about inside. So I want to actually grow like month by month. I want to challenge myself. I want to see like what's the next step for me, and what's the max potential I could actually reach. So basically it was the decision and the commitment to say, okay, I want to move from helping like the small businesses to get to like 6 figures. How do we get like to 7 figures or to 8 figures? And I think it was basically a decision from my side and a commitment to do whatever it takes to actually learn that. And how this was actually implemented, obviously a lot of time invested in it. So I said, okay, I'm focusing like on 2-3 projects, and I really want to grow them like super hard, because this is basically in the area where the pressure is, when the challenges are, this is where you actually learn the most, I believe. So basically I started connecting and with other people that have been on that level already, to share their stories, to share their tactics. I also shared like my learnings with them, and basically it was like creating like a network of people around me that are either in that area or are also chasing that area. So it was basically, I need to learn a lot, combining like different channels, how the creative is approaches, how to open new market, how to localize, how to hire people. But I think it was like the biggest needle mover was like this decision, super passion, that you're really passionate about it, the dedication about it, and then also to finding the people and doing the research to learn from the best scenarios and the case studies to know what is your next step. And it was basically, for me, it was like a workout plan then. So okay, I need to implement it in the next 6 months. I need to implement like this. So the biggest priority for me is this one. Let's tackle this one. And it was like going just one by one, day by day, and just observing like the progress and creating like this my macro goal into the micro goal, and just going like day by day through it.
I just want to review this for a second, because I think it's super important what you're sharing. So basically, guys, he's sharing lessons from experience. Something really important. First of all, he had this ambition. He was very clear what he's after. So he's setting the vision. He's excited about it. I would imagine the team is excited about it. And then he sets the plan, and the plan involves, these are the top things that we need to focus on if we want to grow. 2-3 things. That's one of the struggles of entrepreneurs, especially early stage entrepreneurs. They want to be everywhere. They want to do everything. Every opportunity looks like the shiny object. And this guy's coming here and telling you, no, you gotta focus. You gotta be disciplined. These are the things that matter, and the way to define them is, let me talk to the people who actually have done it. Let me surround myself with people who have been where I want to be. Right, and this is going to be my next question, Jure. It's how did you approach these people? I think sometimes people are afraid to reach out to successful entrepreneurs and role models. What was your approach? What worked and what didn't work in terms of surrounding yourself with successful people?
For me, it was actually because in the early stages of my career, I actually want to learn everywhere. I wanted to watch like YouTube videos. I want to read blog. I want to buy courses. So I had like this 20 different sources of knowledge, and each of them tell me a little bit different what to do. So the information were crashing between each other. So I was a little bit confused what to do. So basically, my decision was that I want to actually figure out like the 3-5 people that are really really crushing it, not just saying that they're crushing it, but to have the track record behind it and have the willingness to actually share that knowledge. So how I actually approached this was that I started researching like LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and podcasts. Basically, what I found out that the podcasts were the sweet spot, and I tried to learn actually who are the guys that are giving away some practical knowledge, some practical strategy, and wanted to connect with them. And basically, the upside for me was that I already have some traction behind. So I showed them, like, for me, it was one of the biggest added value that I bring to the table was that I actually got a lot of traction here in Europe, and the majority of these people actually got businesses in US, and they did a lot of growth in US. But when you look at in the digital marketing space, usually like what is happening in the US right now and it's working is coming to Europe. So I wanted to realize this. Okay, let's learn what is working in US and on the western part of the Europe, and try to implement like in the Central Europe, Eastern Europe. So basically how our approach was basically just to say, I listened to a couple of podcasts. I reached out to say, okay, I really like this episode, really want to learn more about this certain topic that you were actually explaining. Would you be able to or willing to jump on a call and have a discussion around it? And maybe I can also provide you some value with localization. So because I believe people in many cases are overestimating what others know and estimating what they know. So they're actually lacking the confidence on the knowledge that they have. Although they might be doing some things for a couple of years now, they still think, yeah, I don't know something practical. But you know what? For someone that is not like on that market or on that channel or in that business, something that is like a common sense to you might be like a really good tip for the other one. So analyze like what you learn in your journey so far and try to also provide value to them. The other way around is also to pay for the consultation, but I usually try to take this approach. I'll bring some value and I'll also ask for some value.
What an important point, guys. Those of you who are listening, if you want to get around people that are ahead of you on the journey, and I get so many of these emails, Jure, I'm sure you do as well, that somebody wants my help, but they're not thinking about what they can provide for me as a value, right? Try to put yourself in the shoes of the other person, especially the people who are successful. They're busy people. They don't want to give their time for anything. They're already really busy. So what can you do to provide value for them? In your case, you had experience in Europe, localization. You can share some strategies. I listened to another podcast with you where you shared that you are joining these mastermind calls. And I've been setting up a lot of mastermind calls myself during in the past several years. And usually, many cases, I'm the least experienced person in the room, right? But I'm the person who brings everybody together. So I create value based on that, and I'm like, oh my god, these people in the room, they're so experienced, it's amazing. But as you said, you don't know how much value it can actually create. You have knowledge that these people don't, that you can offer. So this is absolutely amazing. Have you started setting up any mastermind groups with all those people, and generally what was the conversion rate like when you reach out? How many of these people
I need to actually check like how many people responded, but basically what happens at the end of the day, if you get 2 or 3, they will actually connect you to the right people. Because when you start talking with them, and because at the end of the day, like the great founders and the CEOs are always learning. So basically they want to get the knowledge, although they might be on a certain point, but they always chase for something that is in front of them. And like they know 50% of the areas they need to improve, but they're always curious about what needs to be done, what can be improved, because we're all in a fast changing environment. it's hard to predict or to plan things, so you're always learning things. So when you actually bring like this to understand, okay, this is my uniqueness, and I tell you something, something that you think is your unique selling point, your USP or your benefit, at the end of the day, it might be something else. Because you'll get the feedback from the people. Basically try to share what you know, and then you maybe ask like, okay, what was like the most valuable for you, or what are the areas that you're struggling or something like that. Try to learn, and basically talking to 5 people or something like to realize, okay, this is the area that is like my sweet spot, and this is where I can actually improve the knowledge. And for me, it was like I was connected to, so I reached out to maybe 20 people. I got like 6-7 replies from that, so because they were super personalized about it. So I actually studied these people and I personalized the note to them. And basically what happened then is that 3 of these people actually connected me to, let's say, 10 to 12 different people. So I got a circle of 15 people that are on the same journey or in front of me or chasing the same thing, and we can actually exchange knowledge together. So I believe like right now is a really good time to do that, because it's like I said, like the environment is super unpredictable, and with all this remote work, globalization, people work from all around the world, I think it's even easier to get to jump on a call and discuss with people. And people love to actually talk about like their success and their strategies. It's not like they're not able to share, they don't want to share. Usually it's like it's a confirmation for them, because if you're actually achieving and you're a high achiever and you're super competitive and always goal oriented, what happened in the end of the day, that you're just chasing the next thing. And you realize when you talk with someone and explain what you have actually done, you realize how far you actually come. So it's like a win-win situation, because this might be like a really good time for you also to reflect about what you have done and feel good about yourself.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree anymore. And just to give one example, recently we set up a private mastermind call for one of the guests of the other podcast that I'm co-hosting, The Leaders Who Care. And we reach out to some of the other guests and see if they might be interested to join. And one of them was, for example, the founder of Reebok, Joe Foster. I was like, why not? Let's ask him if he wants to join. Yeah, sure, I'd love to join. The guy joined on 2-hour conversation, shared a lot of knowledge and insights. Because first of all, he wants to give back. But then, secondly, he will also find some good strategies. He'll reflect. He'll make some new connections. So, absolutely, man. And I would imagine in all these conversations, you learn so many new tools, strategies. You change your perspective. Can you maybe give us an idea? How do you approach a case with a new client, like at Wescale, right? Like, what is the step by step to understand what they need and to create a strategy to grow their e-commerce?
Yeah. So let's say that it's a business that already have some traction on the market. So they actually went through this like the product market fit phase. So they started selling, they understand their customers, they got some traction on one market, their home market. Basically what we do first is to learn the data that is already there. So to understand, okay, what is the demographic, what's the user behavior. We usually like to also send out some surveys to understand like to understand the customer, because I think nowadays the must or the best skill as a marketer to have is to be able to put yourself in the customer shoes and to understand their needs, their concerns. So how we do that is to survey the customer, to analyze the existing data, to analyze the competitors, to analyze the reviews, to learn about what the people are talking about on that forums, what they're asking about this. So basically, usually it's like the research part. Then is the second part is the strategy. So we understand like, okay, talk with the client to understand, okay, what are your KPIs? What is like if you have already a strategy in place to expand on the existing market, what it is. Is it like if you have physical product, okay, are you introducing new product? Do you have some special offers coming up? What kind of demographics are we targeting right now? How do we expand this? How we are using like interest targeting, and understand like different stages of the marketing and how they're using it. So what do they use for the acquisition? What do they use for the awareness? What do they use for the retention side? What do they use to create like this community versus branding on the market? And basically understand like what are the channels that they use, so we could actually prepare the strategy. And usually is if you would ask me 1 or 2 years ago, I would say, okay, go hard on Facebook and then figure out the rest. But right now it's like it's super important to have like this strategy in place early, to understand, okay, how we are going to make sure that the customers will come back, how we will build up our customer database, how we will build our community, where we will get the content, where we will acquire customers in different channels. So it's not like the decision if it's working or not, but basically a comparison of different channels and understanding like which are the metrics and what are the profitability metric that we're following. So this is the second stage. The third stage is like agreeing on the targets. So it's super important for the company to know their metrics about like what's the break-even point, what's the profitability target point that they want to go to, what do the current metrics look like, what's the conversion rate, the checkout process, how is like different stages of the funnel, what is like the cost per getting one customer to the website. So basically diving deep into the metrics and understand, okay, these are our targets, because basically then you make on decisions where you are with the targets. So this is like the target phase, and then it's like the preparation phase to actually get like all the channels set up, all the content in place, and then start the testing, scaling, and so on. And then it's like a repetitive process about, okay, what you are testing, what's working, what we are optimizing, what's scaling. And then when you actually usually trigger or you actually get some traction on the market, then it's like two questions. So one is how do you grow on the existing market, and the second question is how do you expand to other markets. What I see many businesses do is they try to tackle many markets at the same time. But my advice usually, if there is no like a couple of million budget behind it, to actually go slower and try to figure out like 1 to 2 markets and then go market by market. If this is like the e-commerce business or something like that, or you want to localize inside Europe. And basically then it's like, okay, what we're going to do to improve our presence in the existing market, how do we become like a market leader or getting the higher percentage on that market, and then in which market to actually go next and how we'll actually tackle those markets. So this is basically like a short overview around the strategy, but if you want to dive in a certain different phase, feel free to ask.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you are listening live, make sure to post your question. We'll try to take some questions by the end. But one thing that for me is interesting, and it's an important point, I guess, for all of us to learn, is when people hear localization and stuff, and they probably think this guy Jure is just going in 14 different markets from the get-go. And now what you're saying is, you first want to get the local market. Yeah, and potentially become a leader in the market if you can afford it with the resources. What would be maybe an example? I don't know if you can share an example, but like if you can give a specific brand or example and lead us through, this was the product, this was what they wanted, and we applied this type of ads, and that's how, like, if you can give us some example from maybe a recent example, would be fantastic too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If it's okay, I'll talk about the niche, not a direct brand.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
NDAs. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. So the practical example is on the beauty brand. So basically they came up with like 30 different products. So they come to us like when they were present in the market for 2 months. they got some traction. They were doing like 5 to 10K, so nothing special, but they got some sales and the feedbacks. And basically why we actually decide to work with them is because we saw like really good reviews and there was a potential of higher retention rate. Basically, this is like a huge factor for us because we believe like the businesses that will succeed are either high potential with the retention rate, so rebuying, or subscription businesses. So it's not only one-time buy. So basically then you just are selling the product, but basically we want to actually sell multiple different products that are branded and create down the road, create a brand around it.
So you saw good reviews that the product was liked by the customers.
Yeah. And we actually tested like this product. So what we like to do is that we also ask to get the products, to test it out, to maybe also share with some friends to say, okay, what do you think about it? What is important for you? To see, okay, how do they also test it? If it's like a makeup product, okay, what do they do at the beginning? Because basically, and what do they ask? Because this is like the question that also potential customers will have. And you can actually tackle this kind of objective. Because I believe like in many cases, e-com companies and digital companies lose the touch of being like in this real world examples. Because I believe like it's at the end of the day is like, although it's a website in between, but there's still a person on the other side. And the person might have a similar type of objectives when they come to the product page and thinking about the product as they do in the real life. So we wanted to learn that. So we said, okay, we started on the market with 5 million people. So we say, okay, we want to reach like 200 to 300K of sales. So we analyze like what's the revenue from the other competitors. And we say, okay, we want to actually reach like 200 to 300K on the existing market. And then we started like testing aggressively with different channels, with many creatives. We implemented like a lot of influencer marketing, started doing like the email marketing and community building like super early to actually build like this community or a tribe around like this product. So what happened at the end of the day was that the customers became like a little bit ambassadors of the product. So they were commenting below the ads, or, oh, this is really good product. I recommended this to my mother or something like that. I really like it. Started posting their photos, and this was all real customers. So we said like, okay, and we for the next 4 months, we only work on that existing market in order for us to actually set, okay, this is the target, this is the MER that we're saying, and we reach like this revenue with this kind of MER. And because we did that, and it was a small country, there was like a lot of returning customers and a lot of referrals. So although we didn't invest that much like the next month, so we started investing in new market, profitability went up and also the revenue went up because we were introducing new products. So the customers actually kept repurchasing the products, but with the lower marketing spend, the profitability went up. So we had room for investing in a new market. So with the new market, we analyzed, okay, what worked on the existing market, because we had a lot of traction on that one. So understand, okay, what is like the communication, what's the imagery like, what are the videos, what kind of influencers we need to target, how to set up like the retention, the community strategy. And there it was like, so we were able to go faster, because we did the research on the market and we had the traction of the existing market. So we understand, okay, on that market is like, it's super important to have like language. These are the top influencers. These are the payment methods. This is the communication that they're actually expecting. These are the main competitors on the market. So we adapted on that. So it was like the journey was, so first tackle the home market and then go market by market. And then it was like, the time gap in between could be like 2 to 3 months or even 4 months between like figuring out the existing market. And then we started, when we have like 4 markets, then we started like adding like 2 markets. So this company is actually, in 2 years, they actually grew to 50 million total revenue profitably. And right now they're actually present in 8 different markets. And this is basically the strategy with the localization. And I knew that because like I have worked on many different countries and with companies, so understand like on which market to go next and what's important on that market. And then it was basically like replicating what is working on the existing market, but really invest your time, do a lot of surveys, a lot of research, a lot of testing to actually reach like this amount of revenue and then go to the next market. It's not like you're going all in 10 markets, localize everything. You need 30 people to do that. Start small and then expand on that.
And just to for the audience again, if you can, maybe you already shared it, but to repeat it, like what is the revenue level like you have to sustain in the local market before you decide to tackle other markets? Like what
I
would
would
be your
say that
suggestion?
is actually, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, basically, I would say that it depends on the market size. Because if you say you want to become like a bigger player in Germany, then you have a lot of room to actually grow there. If you might be, and also of the niche, because if you are going after the masses, so that your audience is super broad, you might get in Germany, you might need to generate like 20 million of yearly revenue before saying, okay, I'm a really good player on that market. But in smaller markets, I would suggest that you analyze like what kind of the revenue the competitors are doing, and based on that, try to actually study. Because although it might be a super big market, it might be that it's a niche product, so there is like a market gap space of like that the total the average is like 80K. So it's not then smart to say, okay, I want to figure out like to go to 500,000 per month. But I would definitely suggest to have like at least traction on 100K on the existing market. Like this is the bare minimum from my side, in order to say, okay, we know something about that market. We are obviously not the market leader, but we know something what is already working, and then basically expand on that. But I would definitely invest the time to learn about like what's the market size for that kind of niche that you're tackling, and also what kind of revenue the customers. But I would say minimum is at least 100K. This is the best answer that I can give you in general,
Oh,
if it's
thanks,
not a
Jure.
practical example.
What a great explanation around it. And since we have a lot of early stage founders, founders and entrepreneurs who are leading smaller companies yet, they're ambitious to scale and so on, but probably they don't have the means to hire somebody like you guys to help them out yet. What would be some practical suggestions in terms of the different mediums that are working today? Like you mentioned that you guys do a lot of work with influencers. You also mentioned Facebook ads, Instagram, but like really what's happening in, what is it now? It's the end of March 2022.
Yeah.
From your experience with the recent
Yeah.
client cases and so on, what are
Mhm.
the hot places where the attention is underpriced?
Underpriced attention. Okay. Great question. So basically, the suggestion for the marketing channel, like I mentioned, is to understand like, okay, what's my push marketing channel? What is my pull marketing channel? What is my retention marketing channel? And what is my community marketing channel? So this is like usually the four that you need to answer. So if you go from the back up, so the community building is like where you will create like the tribe around like your products or your brand. So here the suggestion would be to either put them in the Facebook group, because in the Facebook group usually the people are super engaging and you can get a lot of data. So you create like this safe space. I know that some brands are also using like Discord or something like that to build the community, but I think it's like, okay, where do we put our customers together? Because you could actually also say, I'm using like Facebook, Instagram, but usually there's not like this two-way communication. It's more like I look at Facebook and Instagram more like a news feed, because it also says news feed. So you're actually just popping up the updates. You might get some replies, some engaging, but this is where customers usually get to check like the news. So what is actually happening outside the world. So make sure to actually create like a space where the customers can connect. You can also do it via email to boost these interactions between each other or send out some surveys. But this is basically like what I suggest. Regarding the organic side, so if you are doing some organic, I would suggest to try to tackle TikTok, because TikTok right now has an algorithm that is pushing like really hard on the organic content, and you can actually get viral although you don't have a lot of following, so you're not that dependent on what kind of database you already have from that. So make sure to actually partner with someone, with some micro influencers or something like that that can produce the content for you. You don't need to do it yourself. If you have this creativity inside you and you are the person that want to showcase in front of the camera and do some entertainment or education or something like that, do it. But if it's not, you can also hire someone to do it for you. So this is regarding community and the organic side. So regarding the retention side, I would say that it's really good to actually have like the email, although like they're saying the email marketing is dead for the last 20 years, it still works. And all the clients actually that I work with, the email marketing still works.
This is very important because many people are trying to figure out how can I make it effective? You know, like how can we make email marketing to be effective? Is it coming down to trying to think of how can I create more value for the customer? Like what are some tips for?
It's the combination, I believe. It's the combination between like providing value, listening to customers about what they want to read, also understanding like what are the biggest player on that in your niche, not inside the country, because usually it might happen that someone is let's say subscribe to both newsletters, so you want to actually figure out like what from the international players, what they're doing, so you can learn about it, and then also create like some exclusivity about it. So how can you create like better offers or early access or something like that to the people that you have? So make sure that you provide something special to them, so it's not like the same thing as you communicate on all the channels, and this is basically like one touch point, an additional touch point, but make sure to actually feel them like special about it, so they get like some extra offers, some early access or something like that. One thing that we also love to do is that when we are launching new product, that we build out the VIP list, and then the VIP list get the early access via email. So make sure to feel them special, and also ask them. One thing that we love to do, like each quarter or something like that, so quarter or inside 6 months, to send out the survey and ask, if you were the CEO of this company, what would be the next product that you would launch? What do you like most about our company? Also analyze like what's the net promotional score or something like that. So make sure to have like the interaction between them, and it's not only you speaking about what's up with your brand, but make sure to also listen, because I believe the majority of the value that you, and also the learnings and the tests, will come from the customers, because although you might understand them, it's super important to include them, because with many customers you get like some direction in which area you go to. So I can give you some examples with the beauty brand. So we actually asked them like this question around like, if you were the CEO, which product category would you introduce next? They tell us, and this product category right now is generating like 20% plus of the total sales, because we saw like this huge demand for this one, although we didn't actually believe that this would be like our sweet spot for us, but we understood like, okay, this is the product category that our customers really like. And I'm really huge believer that you have like two different types of products when you launch, and also product categories. So we have the push products and product categories about to acquire new customers, and then you have like the retention product categories that are actually meant for your existing customers. So it's really important to actually keep them loyal, because I believe loyalty right now in 2022, it's super hard to actually maintain in this digital marketing space. So if we continue there, so this is like the retention side. So basically the push side, I would actually suggest to play around like with between Facebook ads and TikTok ads. So if you're in big country, the developed country, I would also recommend you to test TikTok advertising. We saw this working really well in France, Germany, Italy, in some of the European markets, performed really well. Started investing like 30 to 40% of the budget inside the channel. But I believe still like Facebook for like e-commerce businesses is still like the sweet spot. But the difference there is that you need to take care that you have the tool behind you to actually get the data to understand what's working, and to realize that although we lost like the data and the interest targeting is not as effective as before, is okay, how do I adapt my copy, my creative, and my landing page in order to actually tackle that persona and the benefit that I wanted to communicate? So you need to be more creative around that. And last but not least, so for the pull marketing, so if someone is actually searching, think about like between like Google and, it makes sense, Amazon. I obviously don't have much experience with Amazon, but I know many people that are crushing in on it. So think about like in which area, into which channel to use. But to sum up really quickly is Facebook or TikTok or both, test both. Definitely more budget on the Facebook side first. Then if you need the content creation source, work with influencers. They will create like the brand awareness, the sales, and the content for you. Activate email marketing super early. Then also think about SMS, make them feel special. And last but not least, create a community early so you get the feedback from the customers.
This is fantastic, man. And you mentioned in another interview, but it was 6 months ago, so I'm not sure if it's still relevant in the in the dynamic world of marketing. But you mentioned influencer dark posts. Is
Yeah.
that something that's still relevant? And can you maybe talk about that?
Yeah, so it's still a technique that is used a lot. Not necessary to start with, but basically if you want some traction, it can definitely help you. Basically what it is that you partner up with the influencer or the creator. You get the advertising access to their profile, and you can run ads from their profile. And you can actually pay them for renting the profile, or based on the ad spend, fixed or percentage of ad spend, or some of the ambassadors might do it for free just to get the reach out, and then you advertise their content and link on your website. And basically what it does is that it creates like an extra social proof for the brand, and with them you can actually create like multiple different audiences. So one is like the cold, the prospecting audiences that don't know your brand. One is that you can actually target their audience. So because you get the advertising access from them, you can target their page engagers, their video viewers. So this is one thing that usually advertisers forget about, and it's really effective things to activate. Then you can target your traffic. So you can target your re-engagement traffic, so the ones that re-engage with your profiles and your website visitors. And last but not least, you can also target your customer. So if you have like some product launch or something like that, you can actually activate like your ambassadors or influencers to start dark posting with them, and you can introduce your new products with them. So you can actually send them the products early for them to actually shoot a testimonial video or something like that, and then you can use this for the existing customer in order to create that social proof that you need, and you can then also test it towards the whole funnel.
Right, and I would imagine it's in many cases easier for the influencer to have dark posts as opposed to posting publicly, organically, all the stuff, right? Like, because you can target specific places, but then still on their profiles they have their native organic content.
Yeah, and I also think because one thing that was eye opener for me was like, I think it was five years ago or something like that. One of my cousin is actually an influencer, and we worked together with one project, and he was shooting the content, and then he sent me like 3 pictures, something like that, and they were really an amazing picture. But me coming from the advertising side, I'm a content hungry person, so I need as many creatives as possible in order to test, because you never know what will work. Although he knows what's working for his audience, it's not necessary that it will work like on the broader audience. So I asked him like, okay, these are really nice pictures. So how many pictures did you actually do? And he told me like 50 or something like that. And I asked him, what are you going to do with the rest of them? And he said, yeah, they're really not that nice. So I just shared you the ones that are perfect and I'll delete all the rest. And I was like, no, don't do it, man. I can test them on the ads. You don't need to post them. So, and then we started like this approach of working together with the influencers as creators. So they produce content for us. We were able to, so then we are able to test on the advertising side. So we have like this arrangement also with influencers to send us like maybe 20 or 30 pieces of content per month. They don't need to post them. We just buy out the rights to use the content on the advertising, so you can test a lot. And basically it's also connected to the dark posting. So if you have like the dark posting, they don't need to post, but you can still like test like 10 or 20 different pieces of content in order to understand what the customers will engage with and what will convert on the different stages of the funnel. Because I see that in many cases, like the creative and the communication is working on the top of the funnel might not necessarily be the best performing one that is targeted towards your whole traffic, so your own traffic. So it's important to actually play around. So it's really important to then have the discussion and try to arrange with influencers to get like as many creative assets as possible so you're able to test.
That is great, man. Thanks so much. I think it's going to make a lot of people to rethink the way they are focusing their efforts in terms of growing. And I was reading somewhere in your background profile, you were talking about user-generated content to scale an e-commerce store. Can you tell us what is user-generated content and how can you use it to scale?
It's connected to what I was just explaining about. So it's basically you have like multiple sources of content. So you have the studio shooting content, you have the live style shooting content, and the UGC content. Let's say you have these three. You also can have like the EGC. So this is the employee generated content. So you can actually shoot like with your phone inside the company. This is also one untapped opportunity for multiple different businesses, I believe, because I saw this working in many cases when I was working in a project, and then actually the team members shoot the content because they knew what they needed. So they were actually shooting the content. Might not send out such a good brief, but if they are on the set and they can shoot the content with their phone, it's just what they are looking for. So basically UGC is like user-generated content. So you either partner up with some creators, influencers. You can also get the content from your customers database, and it's basically more native to the platform. I won't say that it works better in 100% of the case, but usually it's like the combination between like the shooting content, the video, so the photo, the video, the GIFs from the shooting content, and combining it with the UGC. Because based on the platform that you're using, it might be okay with Facebook, and if you're targeting like older demographics, they might prefer like user-generated content because they trust the people that look like them, or they're talking about the product, really transparent about it, tackling their objectives. In some cases, if you have like the let's say a jewelry and you're targeting women between like 25 to 33, it might happen that you need like really good like this high production studio content, because this is what they're chasing in a certain market, but in the other market might be the other way around. So regarding the UGC, it's really important to think about, okay, how do I get content from influencers? How do I get content from content creators? So content creator it's not necessary an influencer. So it's not about like what kind of following do they have, but it's about what kind of knowledge of content they can produce. So this might be someone who is organizing a shooting that likes to do TikTok and it's in early stages, or YouTube or something like that. This is especially good if you want to have like more video content, and also think about, okay, how can you get content from your customers? So you have many tools on your website that you can also ask, like for video testimonials, photo testimonials. You can create like a special bonus around, like, okay, everyone that will send out the video testimonials for us, we will pick like 20 and they'll get the refund for their last purchase plus a coupon code for this kind, and we will actually purchase the rights to use this across all our channels or something like that. So basically try to be creative. And I believe the best ideas will be when you analyze like the bigger players that are already doing it right. But this is basically some ideas that came on the top of my mind right now when we were talking about this.
No, absolutely, man. My subconscious is already starting to generate ideas in, how can we use that in what we do. So I'm sure many of the people listening will also be bombarded with a lot of different ideas from the examples, success cases that you share, and I'm also curious to hear about the other side, because we talk about what works. But if we reflect a little bit, if you look into the last, you're spending so much money of customers and yourself in trying things out, experimenting, and I'm sure there's also a lot of things that don't work. So if we look into the last 6 months, what are some strategies or campaigns that really did not give you the success that you hope for?
Yeah, I would start with that, with advertising, like 90% plus of the things that you test won't work. This is one thing that I always tell people. And also this was like the similar line that I also talk with when I was hiring for the first time for the post-production team, the video editor. And he actually came from the TV advertising background, and he was explaining me, okay, we need to create like this perfect video. And I was telling him, I need you to do the first month to do 100 bad videos, because with 100 bad videos you learn more if you try to create like 5 perfect ones, because you will learn the data around it. So basically a couple of things that didn't work was, number one, launching a new brand in Q4. Because in Q4 you don't have that much time of acquiring new customers. We had like a plan last year. We had a plan to actually launch one project at the end of August, so we would prepare everything till let's say October, so then we can push cart in Q4. What happened in reality was that it got postponed, so we started at the beginning of November. And it was terrible because the CPMs were up. It was a new brand. We did our homework regarding the imagery and so on, but we didn't build out the trust and the database to understand it. So if you are launching a brand, make sure, might be different, but this was a lesson from our side, don't launch it in Q4. So try to launch it earlier to get like some information, to learn the customers, because usually it's like this learning curve of 3 to 6 months for you to actually understand, okay, what is the direction that we need to go in order to scale. Because like you mentioned, a lot of businesses are talking about scaling, but do they have the traction in place, and are they profitable? Because one thing that was also a lesson for us was that, okay, yeah, we would like to scale. Yeah, everyone wants to scale, obviously. But do you have right now the metrics figured out? Are you profitable? Because if you're not profitable and you're bootstrapping the business, first you need to actually figure out the profitability. So if you're hitting the profitability of, I don't know, 10, 15, 20%, then you have like, okay, I have room for actually invest more. But if you have like troubles of being profitable with 50K and you don't have an investment or a bigger fund behind it, the first step is to figure out the profitability. And this was the lesson from our side. So we actually partner up with one super big company that want to launch one sub-brand in some markets. And they say, yeah, this is Wescale, they're crushing it, they'll do everything. We won't do everything. We will try to figure out digital marketing. We have some best cases, but it's super important to also dedicate like the person from the team side that will be in fast pace with us. So it's like, don't look for a one-stop solution to say, okay, these are the guys that are crushing it, they'll do everything. No, it's like a teamwork. So you'll do part of it, we'll do part of it. In the end of the day, if we're working together right, and if we have some luck, if we combine the knowledge, we will create something amazing together. But don't look just to hire experts. I think it's really important to actually combine the expertise with like your discipline to get involved, or someone else from the team to get involved. I think this was one. What else can I say? Yeah, briefs for the creative. This was also one interesting part for us. So we had like this anniversary sale planned in Q4, and we started planning super late. And we were really in a time pressure about, okay, we need to organize a shooting this week because next week we are starting the ads. And then when we had the shooting, and when the content came, the content was terrible. So we were not able to use it. So we didn't have a plan B. Then, okay, what do we do next? So we quickly adapt, try to, okay, what are still, we cut it, we combine with some old content. So at the end of the day, we have the content in place. But I think it's about like planning early and think about and have the discussion, okay, what can go wrong? Not to say, okay, something will go wrong, but if something goes wrong, to prepare the whole team, okay, how do we actually then react to that thing? Because it's super important when you have like some time pressure around you. So you have a fixed date, okay, this is when we go live, and this is the assets we need, and this is the channels that we're targeting, or this is the account that we will use. And it's a simple question. Okay, let's say you have a lot of budget on Facebook ads. What happens if all the accounts get blocked? What happens if we get the content, it's not good? So this is basically the discussion that you need to have in order, if you have some big sales or big events or something like that, to have this discussion early. And I think this was also the lesson or the challenge that we have. And I think we actually got a lot of value out of it, how to be better for the future.
Man, thanks so much for sharing. And I think it's actually very calming for people to hear that, even people like yourself, guys, like super professional with so much experience in the field, you still, especially in early stages in a campaign, you kind of try to figure it out. And you said 90% of advertising is not going to work. And people trying to make the first Facebook ad that they ever create to be perfect. It's just like, the numbers are against, right? But I'm really grateful. I want to respect your time, Jure. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know you got to re-listen to this episode because there's so much golden nuggets and the guys sharing information and knowledge that can, it's literally worth millions of euro. So I hope you really get this concept. Jure, it's been such a pleasure having you here and an honor having you on Productivity Mastery. How could people get in touch? If people want to work with you, people want to work with Wescale, give us a bit of a perspective. What is the range of customers? How big of companies are coming to you, and how can they get in touch and you can help them to scale and to grow?
Yeah. So first, to start with myself. So if you want to reach out through me, I think it will be the best way would be LinkedIn or Facebook. Just connect. I assume it will be much better to copy paste the name than to actually try to figure it out, because it's a little bit harder. So, and I hope that you, Stoyan, also share some links with them where they can actually reach out.
I also copy pasted the name, man.
Okay, yeah, I know. So it's like, I think it's just reach out if you have any questions, something that you want to share, some experience, share some failures, and share some success. Always love to listen. And regarding the Wescale, so basically we are a boutique e-commerce scaling agency. So we work with the e-commerce businesses that want to grow their sales in Europe. So we have limited number of spots. So we usually partner up from 5 to 8 companies max. Right now we have 33 people in the team, so we can actually dedicate a lot of people to each project. So what we are actually looking for is, I mentioned a little bit towards this talk. So basically, that's a good product, also experienced founder behind it, that they have the passion for the growth, that are willing to also invest their time to work together with us, to grow their sales, to grow their presence, to open up new markets. And it's the website is wescale.agency, so that you can reach out, or you can just message me on LinkedIn and we can talk about it if you are interested. We are constantly changing the criteria on which kind of businesses, because it's hard to actually say, okay, yeah, these are the businesses and we're not working with someone else. Basically, our vision is to help like improve the general like e-commerce world. So basically, we want to co-create like the world where e-commerce improve lives. So we want to actually be the ones that sell like this amazing products for them, that the people are satisfied with it, that they keep coming back, that they're recommending to the customers. So this is basically where we are thinking of.
So I would imagine you guys are not selling too much drugs and cigarettes and those kind of things.
No, not this year.
Not this
No,
year.
it was a decision. Basically, when I started with Scale, because in the past I also sold a lot of shitty products, and at one point of your career, you feel bad about like telling someone what you're selling. So when I started with Scale, I said that regarding the products, like the main criteria for myself is that if I would use the product, or I would give the product to someone else as a gift and not feel bad about it. So this is basically the criteria. We said like no to many opportunities because of that, but I believe that in the end of the day, it's about like listening to yourself and what is a passion for you and what you believe in, and at the end of the day, you will get also the results with those one.
Staying true to your values and actually having a, you know, good time when you go to sleep at night, feeling that
Yeah.
what you recommend, what you did actually
Yeah.
was something good for the world. Thank you so much, Jure. Thanks everybody for listening to being with us over an hour episode, episode 101 once again. So
Love the
that
number,
means
man. Really, really
there's
good number.
100 more episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast. If you guys enjoy this episode, make sure to share it with a friend if that will help them to grow their business. Get in touch with Jure, get in touch with Wescale. You might not be making the criteria yet, but hey, if you're persistent, I'm sure that you might get a shot, and that could be a game changer for your business. Make sure to connect with Jure. Copy paste his name because it's hard to remember it. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. See you once again in the next episode of Productivity Mastery. Next week we're going to have another exceptional performer, the CEO and founder of the first Bulgarian unicorn, Payhawk. So we're going to have another very interesting discussion. Make sure to tune in live and have an amazing week ahead.
Thank you very much for listening.
Ciao.